Evolution Climate Digital Edition was published in 2021 by North Star Games, designed by Dominique Capuchet, Dmitry Nora, and Sergei Mashin. It was illustrated by Ben Goldman and Catherine Hamilton. North Star Games provide an iOS key in exchange for an honest review. 1 to 4 players play cards to adapt their species to a constantly changing climate. As in the standard evolution game, food will often be hard to find, so you do become a forager, evolve in order to store food, maybe you decide to become a carnivore instead. As you can see, there are a handful of tutorials to help if you're new to the game, or even like me, familiar with it, but haven't played it in some time. Everyone plays a card to affect that round's climate. If it gets too hot or cold, food may grow scarce, and some species will struggle or fail. Be aware of the other players' needs. If they have migrating or furry beasts, it doesn't make sense to try and freeze them out, especially if your species doesn't like the cold. On your turn, you can add 1 or more trait cards to your species, add to your body size, add to your population, or add a new species. Large bodies protect you from small predators or can make you a mighty carnivore. If you cannot feed your species between rounds, they lose a population. Lost your last population marker? That species is extinct. At the end, score points for your surviving species' population, traits, and consumed food. The player with the most points wins. To break it down, populate, adapt, and enlarge your species better than your opponents in order to solve this changing climate. That's Evolution Climate Digital Edition. My games of Evolution Climate Digital Edition averaged around 30 minutes. Playing against humans will likely take longer than playing against the computer. Also, you could just blow through a game quickly without considering your choices, but why would you do that? So yeah, 30-ish minutes. Each AI level has personalities in addition to difficulties. Add the carnivore option to attack other species, including your own, and some herbivore traits, and you have some player interaction that scales well across different player counts. There's a good amount of grade 4 or 5 reading, plus you'll need to plan for the climate, food, and so on. That said, the game isn't too complex, so experienced 9-year-old gamers could give it a shot. In my second game, I started with some nice cards that worked well together. The first round's weather also helped me, so I was off to a head start. Unfortunately, my opponents had other plans. They all made things much colder, hurting me for the third round. I adapted and ended up crushing them. Deciding that the easy AI was too easy, I moved up to all medium opponents. The game was much closer, and I didn't win my first few games, although I did finish second in them. One thing I found interesting is that they kept the climate more balanced compared to the big swings I saw against easier opponents. Evolution Climate Digital Edition has excellent tutorials. Because they're in the menus, you can replay them multiple times by yourself or have everyone in the family try them so you can play one another. The rules may seem complex throughout your first game, but because of the tips and tutorial, you'll get a handle quickly. I saw that there are over 200,000 combinations you can create. That's wow. Replayability is so high in this series because you never know how the cards are going to come out, how your opponents are going to react, how the food and climate situations are going to be, and so on. The choices are my favorite thing in this game. How do you affect the climate knowing that the card place also determines how much food is available? Do you build one species to be unstoppable and have a few others to grab extra points? Do you boost your middle species to give bonuses to your others, such as giving it a cooperation, foraging, and long neck combo? This game's mechanisms are incredibly thematic, from how climate affects food and species to how species gather food and go extinct. This is the type of game that's entertaining and educational. I think many kids my age should play to learn a bit about adaptation. This can get nasty if you decide to start chomping your opponents. If you don't like sticking it to people in-game or having your opponent stick it to you, maybe sit this one out. The AI options mean I can enjoy this game even when mom's at work or I'm at grandma's or on the bus home from school. It's the closest thing to playing on the table, which is a bit hard due to the pandemic. If you're able to or interested in playing online, it's crossplay. Crush your Android/Apple/Steam/Switch friends. Plus, since it's an app, there's no need to clean up the game table if you don't finish a game. The copy provided did not allow me to try pass and play multiplayer. I tried to test online multiplayer, but I had needed to make an account. I guess Apple's Game Center isn't enough. For those of you out there who hate creating accounts every time you want to do something online, or are too young to be able to create accounts, I wanted to mention this. Evolution Climate Digital Edition lets you see millions of years of evolution play out in 30 to 60 minutes. Your decisions on how you adapt your species in response to food availability, predators, and the climate means this game is highly replayable. I personally prefer Climate over the standard game, which isn't surprising, seeing as it's the same game with more card types, plus that cool climate system. This digital edition allows you to enjoy all the benefits of the board game with excellent AI, automated upkeep, and portability. I said earlier that I think kids should play this, and thanks to the tutorials and automated systems, it's much easier to pick up than the tabletop version. Just watch out for kids and adults who don't respond well to their species going extinct. It can be a bit punishing at times.